what is that main factor related to cost?
Well, that's a big question. So we're going to condense it down because we've got 30 minutes, I believe, for this first one. But I'm going to talk about just the building blocks of an FAT. So let's talk about the people costs, the logistics of importing people, deploying people. Let's just talk about the United States. If you're in North America,
Yes.
typically you've got a team of diverse people, different roles within an organization. You've got external equipment suppliers that are deployed. So just talk about the hiring company. They probably have 6 people that they'll send on an FAT. And we're talking about the pre-pandemic scenario. All right. So it's typically,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, if you did all the costs on their hourly labor rate, their travel costs, and the time, you're about, you know, $20,000 US per FAT. All right. So that's people time, all the expenses. That's pennies in the big scheme of it. Really, the opportunity is the success of the FAT. And our challenge that we have, I'm going to set the table is, you know, this is part of our going deeper in our episode here, is the success criteria and the percentage of successful FATs is really the challenge. So I took a look just generally at some census data this morning. That's public information, the U.S. Census data. And the United States in just investments on capital equipment in 2020 was over $1 trillion across all industries in capital equipment. And the big thing here was errors and omissions in that investment totaled $8 billion US. So you spend $1 trillion, $8 billion, you just throw it away. There's no return on it. And that could be errors and omissions in change orders and things changing on the scope of that equipment as from the original purchase order, to delays, failed FATs, not successful, and all the cost that goes to baking that whole thing up. And this is, you know, that's new equipment. And then existing operations, which we have more existing factories and plants. I don't know what the capital expenditure was for that, but there was 5.4% of that expenditure in lost revenue or just lost return, no return on the investment. And so all that just simply means that there was a lot of noise, a lot of late startups, a lot of bad investments, and more importantly, the cost in operations didn't meet its goals, meaning people in production facilities are not achieving their goals.
So sometimes the timeline on when you need to have your equipment to be successful in your operation, you know, and keep ahead in the process of the market, that will define the cost that you will do to the FIT, but it's also the requirement. What exactly you will be looking during the factory acceptance test? You know, can you prioritize what you are looking so you can reduce the amount of time a day that you will be doing the factory acceptance test?